Every great lord has unruly bannermen who envy him in his place. My father had the Rains and the Tarbecs, the Tyrells had the Florents, host the Tully has Walder Frey. Only strength keeps men in their place. The moment they smell weakness, during the Age of Heroes, the Boltons used to flay the Starks and wear their skin as cloaks. Jaime Lannister to Brienne of Tarth, A Storm of Swords, Chapter 62, Jaime 7. House Bolton of the Dreadfort is arguably the most infamous house in the north, perhaps even Westeros, with a sour reputation they have rightly earned, and some argue they are proud of. They are among the most ancient of the northern houses, descendants of the First Men, tracing its lineage back to the Age of Heroes. Their notorious sigil depicts a red flayed man on a field of pale pink, malted with drops of blood, a grim reminder of the practices for which the Boltons are now well known for. The Boltons are known for the historical practice of flaying their enemies, which is depicted on their banner, and they are said to hang the skins of their enemies in a room in the Dreadfort. This sinister reputation means the family is also known for being dishonourable, treacherous, cruel and cunning, a reputation they seemingly have well earned. It is believed that their house words are, "Our blades are sharp." The Dreadfort is the ancestral stronghold of the Boltons, set in the northeastern reaches of the north. It stands on the northern bank of the Weeping Water, lying southeast of the Lonely Hills, north of the Sheep's Head Hills, north of Holmwood, south of Last Hearth, southwest of Carhold. Fortress is known for its formidable design, built with thick stone walls and immense towers. Within its walls, a great hall with its dim, smoky chamber, lit by rows of torches held in skeletal human hands, mounted along the walls. Long tables stretch towards a dais, where the high table and the seat of the Lord of the Dreadfort stand beneath a vaulted ceiling supported by wooden rafters, blackened by generations of smoke. The castle yard holds a huge kennel and steep steps descending into the large dungeons below. The cells are narrow and cold, their damp stone walls adding to the fortress's grim reputation. The Dreadfort is considered an ill omen, as tales insist the Boltons once kept torture chambers, and even a chamber where they displayed the flayed skins of their enemies, among them several ancient kings in the north. I know the Dreadfort. It's a strong castle, all of stone, and thick walls and massive towers. With winter coming, you will find it well provisioned. Centuries ago, House Bolton rose up against the king in the north. A Harlan Stark laid siege to the Dreadfort. It took him 2 years to starve them out. Jon Snow to Richard Horpe. A Dance with Dragons, Chapter 17. Jon 4. Much of House Bolton's history can be defined by their millennia-long rivalry and feud with House Stark of Winterfell, with power in the north shifting between these two powerful houses century after century. The Boltons once ruled as Red Kings from the Dreadfort. At the height of their power, their dominion stretched to the Last River and the White Knife to the Sheep's Head Hills. However, the borders of their kingdom shifted as the power of the Red Kings waxed and waned several times over time. Some of the earliest mentions of House Bolton is speculated to be connected to the legendary, and some even argue mythical figure known as the Night's King. The Night's King was the 13th Lord Commander of the Night's Watch in the years after the wall had finished construction. It is said the Night's King married a magical corpse bride and ruled his small kingdom from the Night Fort on the wall, bending his brothers of the Night's Watch to his will using magic, eventually being overthrown by a king beyond the wall named Jormund and a king of winter named Brandon the Breaker. There is much debate as to how much of this tale of the Night's King is true, but House Bolton is said to be one of the possible houses the Night's King came from. During the Age of Heroes, various Red Kings are said to have joined forces with the Marsh Kings of the Neck to resist incursions from the south, showing they were willing to work with the other kings in the north to protect the northern kingdom, showing how it's possible to cooperate with House Bolton for a greater good. After the long night, the Red Kings remained rivals with the Kings of Winter of House Stark. While the power and influence was often in the hands of House Stark, the Boltons did win a few notable victories, and there were periods of time where the Red Kings held power in the north over the Starks. The two most well-known of these Red Kings were Royce II and Royce IV Bolton. While we do not know the context of their campaigns against House Stark, they were both victorious and burned Winterfell as a result. No easy feat given the sheer size and power of the Starks' ancient seat. King Royce IV was perhaps the most well-known and had a feared reputation that spanned the whole of the north and beyond. He was known as Royce Redarm because of his habits of tearing out the entrails of his prisoners with his bare hands. The Boltons' sinister reputation only grew as the centuries passed, especially their practice of flaying, which was already well known, but there are some rumours from the Age of Heroes that claim the Red Kings often wore the flayed skins of Stark princes, including, some say, the son of the legendary figure Bel the Bard, further deepening their grim reputation and also deepening their sour relationship with House Stark. Like many of these tales coming from the Age of Heroes, it can be hard to discern just how much of these legends are true. While maesters often believe these tales have been exaggerated, there is often a grain of truth at their core. The last of the Red Kings was King Rhaegar the Huntsman. He bent the knee to Winterfell and the Kings of Winter when the Andals, whom had destroyed many of the First Men Kingdoms to the south, began to look north, to the last of the First Men Kingdoms. He would send his sons to Winterfell as hostages to ensure his loyalty. Alongside King Theon Stark, known as the Hungry Wolf, they battled Argos Sevenstar and his Andals, defeating them in the Battle of the Weeping Water. And as history has proven to us, the North remains the sole surviving kingdom of the First Men in Westeros, thanks to its highly defendable position and shared unity behind a single king. Who dressed this poor child in those Bolton rags? That badge. There's many a man would hang her in half a heartbeat for wearing a flayed man on her breast. From Valor Smallwood to the Brotherhood Without Banners, A Storm of Swords Chapter 22, Arya 4. Like a lot of history from this era, given we are talking about thousands of years of time passing, exact details tend to become vague at best, but it appears at least for a few generations, House Bolton remained loyal vassals of House Stark, who were now not just the Kings of Winter, but the Kings of the North in its entirety. But House Bolton was still a powerful house, and the closest rivals of the Starks. During this time, the Dreadfort rose in an unsuccessful rebellion against their overlords, alongside the Grey Starks of the Wolf's Den. The Grey Starks were kin to the Starks of Winterfell, becoming a cadet branch of the house several centuries prior. Likely sometime after the fall of the Red Kings, given the Wolf's Den's proximity to the Dreadfort versus Winterfell. Why the Grey Starks chose to rise up against their kin we cannot say, but House Stark put down the rebellion. The Boltons survived, however, although the Grey Starks did not, with their house utterly wiped out. The Chronicles of Long Sister gives us details of an attempted invasion of the Three Sisters by the Kings of Winter, which occurred 2,000 years ago. A Lord Balthazar Bolton allegedly had a pink pavilion made of the flayed skins of hundreds of sistermen. How much of this tale is true we cannot say, but the legend is still spoken of in the Three Sisters to this day. The Boltons once again threatened Winterfell during the reign of King Edric Snowbeard, with the north at this time very politically unstable. At some unspecified point after this, a few centuries prior to Aegon's conquest, the Boltons rebelled one final time against House Stark. The Stark army besieged the Dreadfort for 2 years before the Boltons capitulated to King Harlon Stark. While we cannot put a date on it, at some point during this era of the Kings of Winter, the Boltons bent the knee to Winterfell and agreed to abandon their practice of flaying, but it is still rumoured the skins of their enemies hang in the rooms within the Dreadfort. Given the tales of Lord Balthazar Bolton and his pink pavilion suggest the outlawing of flaying came after this point. Unlike the kingdoms to the south, for the north, things functionally changed very little after King Torrhen Stark bent the knee to Aegon the Conqueror on the banks of the Trident. Rather than being vassals to the Kings of Winter, House Bolton now bent the knee to their new lords of House Stark, whom were also now acting as Wardens of the North for the Iron Throne. It appears the Boltons' relationship with House Stark remained stable during the Targaryen rule of Westeros. A Barbara Bolton attended the Maiden's Day Ball in King's Landing during 133 AC, held to find a new queen for King Aegon III. King Aegon chose to wed Daenerys Velaryon. While there, Barbara pleaded with the Iron Throne to send aid to the north, feeding the Northmen during a particularly hard winter. When Lord Eddard Stark called the Banners of the North to fight in Robert's rebellion, a young Lord Roose Bolton took up arms, fighting in the Battle of the Trident. Afterwards, he advised Lord Robert Baratheon to slash the throat of the captive Barristan Selmy, a knight of the Kingsguard of King Aerys II Targaryen, the Mad King, but Robert instead sent for a maester to treat the wounds of the legendary Barristan the Bold. When Domeric Bolton, Roose's son and heir, learned he had a bastard half-brother, he rode up to the Weeping Water to befriend Ramsay Snow. According to Roose, Domeric was then poisoned by Ramsay. Now heirless, Roose brought Ramsay to the Dreadfort. Roose would again march south with Robb Stark during the War of the Five Kings, acting as one of the young wolf's senior and most trusted generals. He would garrison Harrenhal for a period during the war. Roose's actions ultimately culminated with his personal killing of Robb at the Twins during the Red Wedding, which he planned with Lame Lothar Frey with approval from Lord Walder Frey and Tywin Lannister. House Bolton then usurps House Stark, with Roose being named the new Warden of the North by the Iron Throne. Meanwhile, Ramsay Snow is granted a royal writ of legitimacy by King Tommen Baratheon, becoming Ramsay Bolton. Currently, House Bolton holds the ruins of Winterfell, now having to deal with the army of King Stannis Baratheon as he marches on Winterfell, as well as northern lords who still are loyal to House Stark.